Hello, and welcome to Embodying Mystical Mac. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. It's been a little while, and I am so excited to be here, so let's just dive right in. All right, y'all saw this, the title of this video, Why I'm Waiting to Listen to Midnights by Taylor Swift. Not sure if I'm going to include that in the title just yet because I feel like it's obvious. But I digress. As a fellow Swiftie here, I just assume everyone knows about our queen at this point. So this is kind of a fun video because I really did want to talk about her as, I'm just going to be very transparent. I do talk about timely things, one, because they excite me, but also because why not? I'm already excited by it, right? What is this channel and my whole career that I'm building about? Me talking about stuff and doing stuff that excites me, right? And creating stuff that excites me. And so I love it when really exciting things are timely for me to talk about. But something that I've found myself to have adopted in the last couple releases of Taylor Swift's music is this practice of waiting until the hype dies down a little bit to fully consume the new album or whatever it is that she's put out. There have been exceptions, like when she put out the All Too Well 10-minute music video. I think I probably only waited like a few days to watch that. But then it's also like, it's not like a brand new thing, you know, it's basically All Too Well, which is a song I know all too well, extended. And I don't know, it wasn't the same as like wanting to wait for an album, for an album's hype to die down. And this is so interesting, and I wanted to share this because I really have been heavily thinking about this, especially because last time she released an album, which I believe was Evermore, I didn't hop on it right away like I did with Folklore. Like, I literally just hopped on Folklore right away, and it was on repeat for like a year and a half. I mean, I bought the CD as well, which helped/didn't help. Like, it was definitely on repeat via my Spotify, but it was also just the CD playing in my car over and over and over again. And so I just kind of assumed, that that's kind of how things are going to go. I've followed her career ever since Tim McGraw. And I'll go into my background with like her career, how long I've been following her career and stuff. But basically, yeah, I just expected that, just like always, I would like hop on the hype, write it out. And with Evermore, I just kind of waited a little bit. I didn't wait a very long time, but like I waited long enough to feel like by the time I got around to listening to it, the rest of the world had kind of let it go a little bit. And this time around with Midnights, I was really excited when she first announced it, like just like everybody, all my Swifties out there, I'm sure, like we were all equally friggin' stoked. And still, when it came out, I found myself being like, no, it's not the right time to listen to it yet. In fact, like there's another album that came out very recently, Mood Swing, by one of my favorite reggae bands, Hyrie. And I've been listening to that quite a bit. And normally I wait on her music. And so this time it was flipped where like I hopped on that right away. And then Midnights, I haven't. And I've really thought about it internally because I realize even saying it out loud, it just sounds like I'm being super snobby and like, why would I wait if I love her so much and everything? And I will get into that. But first, let me just talk about my background with Taylor Swift a little bit. Not like, obviously, I don't know her or anything like that, but I mean with her music, following her career, I was in middle school, I believe, when Tim McGraw came out. And I know it sounds silly, but middle school was, I mean, it doesn't sound silly because a lot of people share the sentiment. However, to those of you that don't, it might sound silly, but middle school was one of the hardest times of my life where I was a new kid, essentially, which I'd already been a new kid coming into second grade because I had moved from Brazil to the U.S. And the thing is that I was supposed to be put into third grade, and that elementary school didn't put me into third grade and instead put me into second grade. So by the time I got to middle school, I was a year almost 2 years older than everybody else because my birthday was in the summer, so I would be one age the whole school year, right? And so some people are either on the young side of that or the older side of that. They even offered to push me up to all the way to 8th grade, which would mean that I would only be at that school for like a year before I went to high school. And my mom like asked me what I wanted to do, and ultimately like we came to the decision that I would just be skipped to 7th grade. So I was a new kid in a middle school, which I didn't understand at the time how difficult that would be for me to be a new kid in that particular middle school, because instead of going into middle school with all of my 5th grade friends, you know, I would be going into middle school fresh from elementary school, have to learn all the things in middle school while being the new kid. And it's not like I was a stranger to being the new kid, or like I wasn't an outgoing kid or anything like that. It was just that like while I was a very outgoing kid, I was still like a very hypersensitive kid. I'm a hypersensitive adult. Like what are we talking about? And I could just feel how much I didn't belong, you know, like they had all been through 6th grade camp together, never mind, you know, so many of them having come from like the same elementary school. The town I lived in was so small that there were like 4 major elementary schools that all fed into one middle school that then fed into one high school. Like, I had no idea how isolating it would be to not have a class that I was part of, really, truly, you know, other than on paper. And like in retrospect, Taylor Swift's music and her, you know, her feeling kind of similar things, feeling like she didn't fit in, you know, feeling like she's kind of on the outside looking in, like feeling all these kinds of things, all these really big feelings that at the time I didn't have words for, I didn't know how to deal with. And I realized that her music facilitated emotional catharsis for me, whether I realized it or not. And I had gaps where like it took me a while to hop on Speak Now, but not because I, you know, not for the reasons I'm going to share here about Midnights, but just because I wasn't quite as latched onto her career back then. But I mean, once Speak Now was through, I was like, okay, like, here we go, you know. And I believe Red was next. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was in high school for that. And it's so interesting because after Speak Now, at every point in time that she put out an album, I had some like shit going on in my life that made me feel so many of the same things that she would speak of in that album. And it was bizarre. Like even during like Reputation era, I had this like fling with a dude, and like the songs hit home so hard, some of them. And yeah, it was just trippy how from Red on, and I mean, I guess this happened like with her title album, right? Her self-titled album, Taylor Swift, that Tim McGraw was on. Like it provided a lot of catharsis for me, but it was just uncanny how fitting the emotions she was talking about in her music just like fit my life, man. I was like, what the fuck? And I've loved her ever since. And it's not necessarily just that she's provided catharsis for me in that way, and her music has. It's look, I'm an artist. When I say that, I don't mean I'm just a visual artist, like I'm sitting next to an unfinished painting right now. I don't mean that I'm also a musician. I don't mean that I'm not, when I say artist, I am not calling myself any one type of artist, because I am an artist through and through to my core. And even before she was, you know, taking full direction and responsibility for writing all her own music videos. Like, she's always written her own music, but she's just recently in the last like couple albums, I believe, began to like really just write and direct her own music videos. You know, it's like even before all that started to go down, I really truly believe that there is a part of me, a very large part of me, that just identified so hard with that, because I knew she was an artist through and through, just like that too. And when you're an artist through and through like that, and words are your jam, which they obviously are for her, they totally are for me. Like, I love to write poetry. That is one of my favorite ways to express when I cannot express in straightforward ways. Meaning I'm so overcome with feeling. Like, writing poetry is like, if I can actually manage it, it ends up being the most amazing thing, and I'm so good at it, and I recognize that. You know, I recognize that in every like amazing musician that is also a lyricist and writes their own stuff. Like, there is just a cadence, an energetic, vibrational cadence to when a musician writes all the things that they also sing. You know, and it's one thing to have like influence and advice and things from others, but when you know it's them at their core, when it really is. And I recognize that in Taylor Swift, in that locked me in, you know, like, sure, yes, her music provided great catharsis for me, it's good music, but then as she progressed, I was like, no, man, this isn't a fluke, she's great. This is great music. And it's great music because she's never left her vulnerability off the page. And I'm so deeply inspired by that. So before I go into my rant, my last little bit, not my last little bit, but my little bit into why I'm waiting on midnights and why what my self-reflection has resulted in. And I've asked myself, like, are you just being snobby and like kind of, you know, negative hipstery or whatever? Before I go into that, I did accidentally get exposed to the song Karma because my friend posted a really funny Instagram reel on Instagram, and it was to that song, and I just had to look it up. I was very interested in the lyric already when I saw it on the track list, and I'm glad I looked it up because I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I won't listen to any of the rest of it until I'm ready to listen to the entire album in completion, but I do, for the sake of honesty, I do want to say I was accidentally exposed to Karma, and that song is poppin'. Oh my god, I love it so much. It is so jammin'. I am definitely going to create some Instagram reel or something at some point with it. I just love it, especially because, like, again, it's like I myself consider myself a wordsmith. I too am an artist that expresses myself in, you know, artistic ways, and still, like, I love that I can vibe with other people putting into words things that I've always felt but have never thought to put into words. And like that song, yeah, man, me and Karma vibe like that. Hell yeah, I get what she means, and I fucking love it. So what has my self-reflection come to when I think about why am I not listening to Midnights right away? Well, I actually have. I've tried, or rather I shouldn't say I have. I've tried. And whenever I go to put on the song, I just kind of, it feels wrong. Like, you know, it just kind of like when you're browsing Netflix or whatever and you click on something and all of a sudden, like, you instantly, as soon as you click play, you're like, fuck, I didn't want to watch that. That's not what I wanted. And so it's kind of like that, where I just didn't feel right doing it quite yet. And so I really, whenever things like that happen, I need to examine that. One, because a great chance to get to know myself a little better. Especially too, because it's not like this thing was lingering in my brain forever, because part of me does want to get on the hype with everybody else, with every other Swiftie out there, you know? And what I came to is that, and this may sound super silly, and I'm going to disclaim already, I'm super aware that this is a parasocial relationship. I'm super aware that Taylor Swift does not know who I am. I don't, you know, there's no need for her to know who I am. It's about none of that. I just feel like if I were to meet this lovely human that is Taylor Swift, we would get along really well because we're both goofy and clearly we like to have fun and we like to express, and we're both deep, deep feelers and deep, deep thinkers. And that makes me feel really cozy in that knowing. Like, I don't ever have to meet her to feel really cozy in that knowing. You know, I don't ever have to make any attempts at meeting her to feel really cozy in that knowing. Like, no, it's just this like feeling of, wow, like this person that puts out this amazing art that has quite literally like elevated and changed my life for the better. Much like a lot of art that I've encountered has. Like, why am I a theater nerd? Because musicals have touched me like that. Movies, TV, like, why do I talk about this stuff? Because it touches me like that, you know, like in my soul. There's something beautifully satisfying in knowing that, and this is an inner, intuitive knowing that I cannot explain and will not attempt to, that my energetic, monetary, you know, if it comes to me buying merch or whatever, support of this human is just beautifully well placed. That I don't have to separate the art from the artist like I do in so many scenarios. Like, a great example, as far as I know, Orson Scott Card is not a very great human as far as his opinions. And I don't know, I haven't read up on him in a long time, but as far as I know, he just kind of not a very inclusive human or understanding. And meanwhile, I love his Ender's Game series. It has impacted me deeply. It shakes me to my core that a person that has the beliefs that he has, or, you know, had when I last read up on him, could write something so beautiful and inclusive. And granted, I was younger when I read it, but I was still like a young adult, you know? I don't have to do that with Taylor Swift. I can love her music and her as a human wholeheartedly and know that that is well placed. And that makes me want to save her works of art for when they can be a little bit more mine. For when the world has kind of moved on and I can listen to this knowing that I'm not going to read something on Instagram about it tomorrow 3 times over. And that's not to say I don't love that. I do. It's actually really fun for me to wait while the hype is happening and like be part of the hype, because I know, and I mean, I already knew before Karma, but if Karma is any indication, like, I know it's gonna be, it is brilliant. I'm gonna be so excited and so just jazzed listening to it. I'm gonna go through all the feels that it takes me through, and it's so much freaking fun. It's like I get to enjoy it twice. And I just wanted to share that, because maybe some of you have experienced this and maybe you're just stopping short at like, no, I'm just being a hipster and yada yada. Like, no, maybe you're not, and it's okay. Like, that's okay, you know? The last thing that I want to say, and that segued into it really, really nicely, there's so many people that we have to, at least for me personally, I have to separate the art from the artist because they just haven't been great people. I mean, shit. Kanye West is a great example. No one can say he's not a brilliant rapper, musician. But I can't support him as a person. And I'm not experiencing his mental illness, but I have some of my own, and I can have compassion for that and still say, I can't support him as a person. And for me, who wants so much for an integrated world, and I want for that, and I show that in the way that I live my life. I intend to integrate every possible thing in my life that I can, so it all works interdependently. It's so difficult for me to have to compartmentalize beautiful art from people that have ceased to be beautiful humans or do beautiful human things, when I so much wish that they would, because it makes that art that much more impactful and powerful. Taylor Swift didn't break records with Midnights just because it's a brilliant album and she's put in her absolute time into this industry. She did it because every single one of us that calls ourselves a Swiftie feels like I described, that our faith, that not just she's a great artist, but that she's a great human, is well placed. And if someday, shit comes out that makes me really truly question that, like some of the crap like with Kanye and stuff, like I am not a stranger to change, and I'm definitely not putting her on a pedestal. I'm saying she's a great human because that is exactly what she is. She's a great human with flaws and human strengths and weaknesses and tendencies, and that is precisely what I believe we all love about her. And I'm not saying that there is a deserve in the sense of like what you're given is yours because somehow you co-created it with the universe. But there is something to be said that a lot of people really misuse the platform and influence that they're given. And it's so brilliant that Taylor just never really has, to the point of speaking out against stuff that she never even really had to. And again, this isn't putting her on a pedestal. Just like if a person in my life does things like that, I congratulate them and say, hey, good human move. Like, good human moves, Taylor. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to bring me to it at the end of that whole thing. And now let's just get to the tarot card. For those of you that are new here, I read a little collective tarot card at the end of all of my videos, and I do offer tarot readings of my own, which I'll give you a little bit more information right after this reading. For this one, I pulled out the Revelations Tarot because it's a really good deck for looking at the cards in all of their facets, meaning both reversed and right side up positions are highly honored with really beautiful artistic works. And it just felt right. It felt right. It's October. I'm talking about something that, is bound to leave people with opinions. And in opinions, duality tends to work itself into it. So, why not? Let's see. What do we need today? What message from the universe, from God, whatever you choose to call that beautiful, benevolent, unconditional, loving force? What message has it to give us? Oh, actually, here it is. Wow, powerful message. So we've got the Three of Wands. I'm going to show you here. And for those of you listening on the podcast, this deck is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. The Three of Wands, there are a lot of warm toned colors. We have like a very warm purple, like warm deep purple. We have light greens, yellows, oranges, reds. We've even got some white in the markings of these three people standing, each holding a wand. They're all standing in a circle facing each other, almost kind of like a triangle. I say a circle because there's three of them, but really it's like there's one in the center and then two on either side, but they're all facing each other. And it looks like there's just not cosmic, but it doesn't have to be cosmic. It just looks like there's energy like shooting out of their bodies, out of the top of their heads. And you get this impression that they're working in tandem, and it's almost as if, it's definitely as if the universe is working with them in this energy. It's like they're disrupting the flow of the universe, but also like coaxing it to their will at the same time. And I say that without a negative connotation. Like in coaxing it, I mean they are quite literally, like we use the law of mirroring / law of attraction, to manifest our desires via like meditation and visualization, via just working on our subconscious blocks and things to be a clear channel for our desires, right? Regardless, we are always a channel pulling those things towards us, meaning we too are urging the universe to co-create with us. It's just that in this card, it's so apparent and they're all working in tandem, and they're obviously like, I forgot his name, but a really awesome guy, ex-football player, motivational speaker now, black dude, really cool. Anyways, he said something awesome. He's like, one fist is stronger than 5 individual fingers. And this is exactly what comes to mind when I'm looking at this visual. Now, that, we'll get into them, obviously this card is trying to let us know, collaboration is really big right now. Collaboration is key, even. Not even just collaboration of like mindless collaboration, like, for example, when you're doing your everyday thing with your family and everyone's weaving in and out of each other because that's just kind of the routine that you guys have all fallen into, and that's autopilot. No, this is like conscious, turn yourself towards whatever it is you need to turn towards and actively participate in that collaboration. That collaboration could mean with actual other people in a family unit, in a professional setting, in a romantic relationship setting. It could, but I'm getting the sense that whatever it is, it's something that's very, very close to that center of inspiration, that center of drive, that center of zest for life, okay? I am looking at this and saying this because we got a 3 of Wands, and Wands corresponds to the element of fire. And when we think of fire, we think of joy and spark and light and inspiration and drive, right? I think of the phrase, light a fire under your ass. What lights a fire under your ass? All right. This card is calling you towards that thing, but it's not just calling your attention towards that thing. Whatever this is sitting in front of you, it's a collaborative effort. Okay. Obviously, when we're talking about a family unit or whatever, sure, yes, collaborative effort, but maybe you're overlooking the part of it that is truly making it collaborative. Meaning sometimes, as brilliant as the people in our lives are at knowing what's going on with us, it's still imperative that we say it out loud, right? So take an active role in whatever it is that is in front of you that is inspiring you. For some of you, that might be an endeavor of sorts, right? Like for me, I'm very inspired to get like a really, really lovely paying job so that I can truly put my mental creative forces towards growing my career as a content creator and social media presence. And I'm really, really passionate about that right now, right? So that doesn't, just because it's not something, say artistic or that inspires me like in that sort of stereotypical way. No, it's very pragmatic for sure, but it's still like lighting a fire under my ass. I've never wanted to be financially thriving and stable so badly in my whole life to make my dreams come true. It's so interesting. I always had it backwards, where I was always so passionate about like making my dreams come true at all costs, not realizing that like I'm way more adept at making my dreams come true when my freaking like financial survival needs are more than taken care of, right? So like don't limit yourself to this idea that just because we're talking about inspiration and drive that it has to be like that side hustle or this. Maybe you're really, really passionate about your job and there is a project sitting on your desk that maybe you haven't been giving your full attention to. Like this is the time. This is prime time. This is eclipse energy, by the way, and it's new moon in Scorpio nonetheless. Like, man, Scorpios got sting, which all means they got poison, but that poison can also be turned medicine. So I'm also getting the sense of like, be very mindful in this collaboration that your vigor and your excitement can maybe sometimes come across as you trampling over others, and to just remind yourself that there is a way to bring that vigor and that excitement while also being patient and being a good collaborator. All right. I'm very much sensing that this is a time to collaborate with others in some way. All right. And lastly, 3 is a number of change. Now, it's not a number of like massive change like number 5, but it is a number of preemptive change, of minor change. Someone I know was saying how oftentimes when bad things happen in his life, a like slightly lesser bad thing will happen prior, almost in what I thought is like almost in preparation for the more bad thing, right? So think of 3 as like, this is the step to put in towards that major change. And you may be working on the thing at hand, not even seeing the next step. And that's totally fine. Just know that it is leading into something that corresponds, but is more significant, not necessarily more significant. That is a feeling of greater magnitude than the thing at hand. Yeah, if this is relationships, this is just a really good time for freaking synergy. All right, really good time for synergy, for connecting, for, laying your shit down and just being like, what drives you? Like, really, don't be afraid to dive deep. Like, as above, so below is a thing, because you only go as high as you go deep. Like, genuinely, the tallest, most majestic trees have incredibly long and strong roots. Now's the time to put in those roots. Okay, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. If you liked this reading, go ahead and go to calendly.com/mysticalmac to book one all on your own. I do them over Zoom. They are about 30 minutes, and I'm doing them by donation right now. So that means that when we come to the reading, you can decide to donate whatever it is that you see fit for the reading. And if you did get to this point, of course, obviously there was something here for you. So please subscribe, and do click the bell, because I do post regularly, but I don't post on a schedule. And I'm sure that as I start my new job and all that good stuff, it's going to take a little bit of an adjustment period before I, even start going back to the semblance of some sort of schedule. But I don't think that will ever really, really, truly happen. So click the bell. Yes. And thank you so much for being here. I'm really appreciative. This channel's growing. You guys are awesome. And I'm stoked to see you next time. Stay mystical. Stay grounded. Bye. Karma is a guy burying my love because it loves me. Me and karma vibe like that.